listening to the Startup Scale Up Show, a podcast that inspires entrepreneurs to create meaningful businesses and pursue their passions. My name is Demi Samande and I am a furniture manufacturer, best known for documenting my move to Lagos, Nigeria for hopes of business opportunities. And I'm sitting down with entrepreneurs from across the continent to talk about their process, the lessons they have learned, and how to make real impact. Welcome to Susu. My guest today is Onyeka Akumah, a serial entrepreneur and the founder and CEO of Farmcrowdy, Nigeria's first digital agriculture platform with a network of over 300,000 farmers connected with finance, market access, technical expertise across all 36 states in Nigeria, including the FCT. Onyeka is also the co-founder of Plentywaka, Nigeria's premier bus-hailing app focused on transforming the public transportation space with technology and over 200,000 successful riders in its first 12 months of operations. Prior to Farmcrowdy and Plentywaka, Onyeka held several top management positions in high-profile startups like Jumia, Wakanow and Konga. He also worked for top firms like for Deloitte, the British Council and Guaranty Trust Bank, where he led their marketing efforts online. Onyeka was appointed to the Agri-Tech Stakeholders Forum by the Federal Ministry of Agriculture, Nigeria, and was also made one of the youngest members of the Honorary Council of the Abuja Chamber of Commerce and Industry. He has been featured as one of the top 50 disruptors for 2020 by the Africa Report and listed as one of the 2020 top 50 innovators to watch across the globe by the Globe Shakers. Onyeka won the Entrepreneur of the Year award by Gage Award and has been listed as one of the top 10 CEOs under 40. He was recently ranked the 26th most influential young person in Africa. Onyeka currently sits on the board of leading tech startups in the United States and Nigeria with a keen interest on agriculture, real estate, and the transportation sector. Onyeka, welcome to Susu Podcast.
Thanks, Demi.
Thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah.
I was rather excited about sitting down with you, in fact.
Oh, okay.
Because I really wanted to delve into the man that is Onyeka, because I have been following Farmcrowdy for a while. Okay. I actually remember, I believe it was probably about 4 months or so ago in the peak of COVID-19, where I get one of those messages from my network of women who are like, you need to sign up to Farmcrowdy. You need to do, because we're all talking about investments at that time. Okay. What can we push our money into? Because there's so many question marks in the air. Yeah. What's going on? COVID-19 has pretty much ravaged the world. Where can we secure our money? What type of things can we invest in at this point? And your platform was one of the things that we were actually discussing as an option. So before we delve into it, please, who is Onyeka and how did we get to be this entrepreneur, Agri-Tech, talent? How did we get to this point? Give me a backstory.
Okay. So Onyeka is, I'm a 36-year-old man from Nigeria.
I thought you were younger, by the way.
I know, I hear that a lot. But don't worry, I have a lot of gray hair coming up now. And maybe that would give me away in the future. I'm from Delta State. I've got 4 siblings. My dad is a medical doctor. He has his practice. My mom used to be a civil servant. She's retired now. And I was born in Lagos. Just before my first year birthday, though, I had to relocate with my parents to Sokoto, a very quiet place in Nigeria. I think that had a lot of impact on my life because it made me calm down. It made me see things from a very calm perspective. I had 15 years there, went through secondary school in Sokoto, and then got out of school and started looking at opportunities to do stuff in the entrepreneurial space as early as 15. In fact, it started for me when I was 12 because my mom, at the age of 12, she wanted me to, I asked her for a Christmas gift at that time. And she said to me that I had to end it. And what she did was she bought me about 200-day-old chicks, birds, and said I should raise them until, it was September of that year, I should raise them until they were big enough for me to sell.
Interesting.
And whatever it is I sell, I then use the money and buy my Christmas gift.
Were you guys living on a farm by any
No,
chance?
we weren't.
So where on earth did you keep these chickens?
I mean, in Sokoto, the average house is like, it sits on 3 plots of land.
Oh, wow. So plenty of...
That's about 1,800 square meters.
Okay, so plenty of open space and open land,
yeah.
yes.
So I created tents for them, and then I raised them. And
interesting.
It was a very good journey for me because I was raising those birds and I was trying to read some books on how to make money.
At 12?
At 12, yeah.
Interesting.
I just wanted to make that money to buy my Christmas gift.
So what did you buy yourself in the end?
A bicycle.
Oh, okay. How many chickens got you a bike?
I sold maybe about 100, and then she added more money to it. They were excited about it.
So 100 chickens couldn't even afford one bike?
No, it couldn't afford one bike then.
So 100 chickens could not even buy the bike?
Yes, they couldn't. And I mean, for me, I think for the entire family, my mom was excited about the fact that I went through the process. Some of the birds, I was naming them. So chicken X, chicken Y.
Oh,
so
Lord.
on Christmas Day, the ones we couldn't sell, we had to prepare them for Christmas. And
you ate your own chickens?
I didn't know. And so what happened was, on that day, I found out, and I think that was where the business ended for me. I never wanted to do it again. I didn't even eat the chicken.
The trauma.
It was the emotional trauma was crazy for me.
I can imagine.
But that was the first journey for me. And getting out of school, I read this book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I could only read chapter 1 and 2. The remaining things, I didn't understand what they were saying. But the first 2 chapters intrigued me. That there was a young lad that was able to use toothpaste cans and make money out of that, and selling stuff around papers. That excited me. Then I read The Richest Man in Babylon, which I found was kind of similar with Rich Dad Poor Dad. And then second thing I wanted to buy was a laptop, a computer now. And this time around, nobody told me. I had to look for what I would do to earn the money I was going to use to buy the computer. So I set up a business center in a place in Lagos. We had come back to Lagos then, a place in Lagos called Aja. And it was maybe the first then. I didn't even realize it. I just got canopy. I got somebody working for me, and I started selling recharge cards.
Oh, interesting. How old are you then?
15.
15 years old?
Yeah.
Wow. It was definitely in your blood then, wasn't it? This entrepreneurial thing.
Yeah,
so where did you pick that up from, with that ingenuity of that idea that I can actually do something like this at such a young age?
I think it was more from my mom. She said to me at some point that just before I got my first job, my first day going to the office, she said, you know that for you to be wealthy, you need 4 streams of income. And this 9-to-5 job is just one. So you need
Your
3
mom
others.
said that?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I think that stayed with me throughout my life. And so I always knew that, I mean, I had to excel first at my work. So I give 120% to the work I'm doing 9 to 5. Then I'll need to do extra things outside of work to earn income that will make me wealthy. That was it for me. So I think she was the one. My mom will walk in here and she immediately sees a rug and she's like, okay, maybe she can do business here. And she's always looking for opportunities to do that. My dad, on the other hand, was go to school, get to your books. My dad said to me, whatever it is you read, just get your PhD. He has
that is
3 degrees. He's a specialist. He has 2 PhDs.
How does one get 2 PhDs?
It's insane.
You must live onto like 150, right, to acquire 2 PhDs. How do you have the time?
Geriatrics medicine, obstetrics and gynecology, theology. He has a PhD in theology.
So he's just in love with academia.
Yes.
You do have people like that, don't you? I always find it astonishing. And it's really weird that the sort of the parallel with your parents, because my parents are exactly the same. My mother is very entrepreneurial. Okay. My dad is very much about his academics.
Okay.
He doesn't have a PhD, but he loved reading and he loved going to school and learning and taking exams, which is mad to me. I don't know why. The moment I left school, that was it. I was not looking back.
Same here.
I need to get into the field. I need to build something. I need to make something. I'm not interested in sitting in the classroom. I get restless. Yeah. So how are you in school when you were sort of growing up?
same approach. Although this time around, I had a friend that was making, so I got into learning how to build websites. And I use websites for all sorts of funny reasons, including I want to talk to a lady, I'll design a website and send it to her and say everything I want to say in the website. And it always worked for me.
That is so cool. That is crazy. So you were wooing the ladies in school by building tech websites.
I was doing that a lot. And I then met someone, a friend of mine, that rather than building websites for ladies, he was building websites for making money because he was making brand presence for organizations. And so he was driving the cars that I wanted to drive. He was living in the houses I wanted to live. I was getting the girls he wanted to get, but I wanted to flip it. So I had conversations with him. He showed me how he was doing his presentation, his decks, how he handled his portfolio. So I did the same thing. And I think while in school, my current CTO and maybe my best friend, Christopher, was in school with me. So he handled the back end. I did front end design. Our first project, we made about ₦500,000. No, my first project, I made 25,000 naira. The second project, I made ₦500,000 naira. And that was exciting. That was like school fees for 2 years. And
was this at the point of university?
Yes, in university.
Okay, so you were already doing tech. I'm guessing sort of first year at uni.
Yes, applied information technology, more like software engineering. So, but the program exposed us to different classes of web design, network engineering, core programming, database management. I picked web design as my own specialty. So they expose you to everything, and you're supposed to decide which one you want to focus on. So I focused on user experience, and that was where I decided to make myself a specialist in. So I did that in school, and then getting out of school and getting my first job, I made sure I still had a company that was working on creating websites for people. Before I stopped building websites 5 years after school, I'd done over 400 websites for different organizations and individuals.
Pretty impressive. Before graduation?
No, when I was done with graduation.
By the time you graduated,
By the time I graduated, I only had 3 professional websites and maybe over 12 lady websites that I said, I mean, when I went and I presented them as portfolio business, I said they were all models. So I was just designing websites.
So these are women that you are trying to get their attention.
Yes, at that time.
How on earth did you have time to build websites? You're building them all for women.
Well, the thing was,
killing 2 birds with 1 stone.
I did them for them, but it wasn't just them. I would be told to do a PowerPoint presentation in school, and I'm designing a website rather than a PowerPoint presentation. I'm told to do a little slide. Whatever it is I needed to present, I found websites as my own tool to express myself. So I did a lot of websites in school. I found it.
Was that quite groundbreaking as of the time? I'm trying to think, what year was this?
2003, 2004, 2005. There weren't many people.
There weren't many people doing this. So when you were doing this stuff, where were you gaining all that sort of knowledge? Are you literally going out into the market trying to be deliberate about finding these things yourself, or was it something that you were just naturally exposed to?
So I loved the art of I liked art, and I liked its combination with technology. And so I love drawing, I love combining colors, right? And I saw an opportunity to do that on the system in web design. So I used that to, anywhere I see a website or anywhere I see a flyer, I want to create a website immediately for the company. 5-page website describing the business, telling the service, telling people how to contact them. So I kept on doing that. So what I was doing, as soon as I learned the skill, I was picking on projects on my own. I remember one of the coolest project I did was Cool FM's website. I picked the Cool FM website at that time and redesigned it my own way, and I sent it to them. I picked church websites, I redesigned it my way, and sent it to them.
Without being a member of staff?
No,
you just picked it up.
Because the URL is there. So I just go to the URL, see what they've done, and I try to replicate what they've done and then do it better. I see. So that kept on improving my skill. I didn't realize how fast I was also in building those websites. And I started off with raw HTML, raw codes, and then later a couple of other softwares that are coming in. So it was exciting. I was picking it it was just my interest to pick those websites and redesign them. And I found myself building that skill that many
Interesting.
people didn't really have at that time.
At that time. Interesting. So let's fast forward to Farmcrowdy.
Yeah.
How did we sort of come up with that? And I know that it was a long journey before we got to that point. So tell us a little bit about how we derived at Farmcrowdy.
So getting out of school, I worked with 3 corporates: Deloitte, British Council, and GTB at some point, and then decided that I wanted to build my own startups. I wanted to learn from people that had built their own websites. That built their own startups, and that led me to identifying at that time Wakanow was one of the major e-commerce businesses, although focused on travel, or one of the major tech startups that was established in the country then. At the time when I told people I worked in Wakanow, they laughed because they didn't know what Wakanow meant.
How long? When did that start? What year was that?
I joined them in 2010, and I left in 2012. I left them in 2012 to join Rocket Internet. Rocket Internet had 2 arms, Sabunta and Kasua. Both companies merged together to become Jumia. So I became maybe one of the early first 2-3 people that started off in Jumia, recruited the first 50 people in the team, and set out to build maybe what you call the Amazon for Nigeria or Africa. Did that for a time, and then went into consult for GT Bank, then got into Konga to replicate what I had done in Jumia. Did that for some time. Now, while I was leaving Wakanow to join Jumia, I noticed that there were 3 sectors that needed technology. And I felt like if you had an impact in those sectors, you would have tremendous value that you would have created for people in Nigeria: agriculture, real estate, and transportation. Now, I knew there were so many other sectors, but these 3 were the ones that excited me the most, because I knew that everybody wants to eat every day, and everybody wants to move around every day, and everybody will need where to sleep every day. So I felt like there were sectors that on a daily basis people will have need for. So I was paying attention to them, and I knew there were the sectors I wanted to play in. This was in 2012. So getting into all these other businesses, I was just building my skills, learning how to recruit people, learning how to deal with investors, learning how to work with a board, learning how to hire.
Would you say you were intentional about that?
I was very intentional. I literally had a timeline I gave myself.
How long was that?
I wanted to do it by the time I was 30. I wanted to have started my own business by the time I was 30. So I was quite deliberate about the moves I was making. There were moves I made. When I left Wakanow to join Jumia, I took a pay cut, but people didn't find it funny. I left a car and a driver. I took about 55% pay cut.
Wow, that's just unheard of.
Because I wanted to get certain things that they had. And I mean, within a year, it flipped back, and I was already earning 2 times what I was earning Wakanow within a year.
Having put in the grind into that.
Yes.
Were they a little bit shocked that you were willing to do the pay cut?
I didn't tell them I was in a pay cut.
So nobody knew?
Nobody knew. I didn't want them to know, because I knew they would fight me from going. I knew they wouldn't understand what I was going for. So I didn't want, when my eyes are set on the goal, I try to limit distractions. I try to people will have their own views on what you want to achieve. Until you get your goals right, then they will understand why you make those sacrifices or made those moves. So I was ready to have discussions or conversations with people about why I had to make those decisions, apart from maybe my family. It wasn't easy for them at that time. And then eventually I did. And then when things then rebounded, they're like, oh, okay, it actually made sense what you were doing then.
Yes.
And so I built myself with those opportunities right up to launching my own startup. First startup, Quick Gist, at that time. Quick Gist grew to about 200,000 users in 6 weeks. It was a news aggregator, social news aggregator. And then we ran out of money within 6 months. Then I had to sell it to another media company in the country. We made some money, but it wasn't the kind of exit I was happy about. But I just took a break and then went back again. And somebody told me they wanted to launch another startup called Travel Better, whether I could join them. I joined them as a consultant initially, then later on came in fully as a chief commercial officer and helped to launch that business in Nigeria. So it was while I was in Travel Better, I said, yes, I think it's time for me to now take this opportunity first in the agriculture space, because this was 2015. And at that time, Nigerian government was paying a lot of attention to the agriculture sector. So I started working around assembling the team. The lessons I learned from my previous startup, I worked on it to make sure I wasn't the only one that was going to get into this venture. I made sure I handled how I went about fundraising better. I made sure I was able to save for about 8 months prior to me starting my business. And then eventually, September 2016, we went live. Another thing I did was to launch small with my team. So even if we had all the money in the world, I kept on saying we will launch small so that we can learn from all the different mistakes we can make as a small business and then gradually start scaling it. I mean, there was a major error that happened in our first project where 60% of everything we invested in failed. If we had done it at a massive scale, yes, it would have just ended the business from day one. So that was how my journey, and that was how it led to me starting out Farmcrowdy.
Now, with Farmcrowdy, did you have much experience other than the chickens that you raised as a 15 or 12-year-old?
Yeah.
Would you say that was birthed from passion, or would you say it was just a situation where opportunity met your experience? As in, how did the two merge? How did you decide that, okay, agriculture is something that I'm really going to plow with this tech approach?
Yeah, so 2012 was when I said to myself I was going to pay attention to agriculture as one of the sectors that I was going to invest my time and resources in. So all the things I started doing from 2012 to 2016, I was paying attention to those people that were involved in the sector. So I was preparing myself. In the experience I was getting while working, I was building myself in many areas. So in hiring people, I mean, if you say you want to build a successful Agri-Tech platform, it's not just agriculture that you will learn and you would implement in that. You need to get the right people on your team. You need to get the right investors in your team. When resources come, you need to manage your finances effectively. Then comes in operations. Then comes in motivating your people. And so all those things, I started being deliberate about learning them while I was working with other people's firms. And then they prepared me for the opportunity. Now, I didn't know when the right opportunity was going to come, but as soon as it did, which was that period when everybody was saying, I want to be a farmer, but I don't want to go on the farm. Agriculture is the new oil. That was the quote that everybody was excited about 2015. I knew that, okay, so people are paying attention finally to this sector, but nobody is using technology the right way to get people truly excited about participating. So that presented the opportunity that I then used all the experience I had built, whether it's in the corporate world or in the startup world, or even from the entrepreneurship world, with even my failed startup. All of that then counted in together to then chase the opportunity and grab it.
So agriculture is a massive, massive industry, and with many, many value chains. And how do you determine the sector, the area of the value chain that you actually wanted to focus on intensively? How did that come about?
Demi, that's a very good question, because when we started Farmcrowdy, we focused on the finance sector. We focused on raising money for the farmers and giving them money to work on the farm. Then we noticed that you needed to get involved in the core farming activity, so you save your money and then save the money of the investors that have invested in your platform. We then got into crop production. In doing that, we noticed that, hey, you need to find the right market to sell in order to get decent margins that makes everybody excited. We then got involved in marketing our harvest. We got involved in trading.
Yes.
Now, when we got involved in trading, we then looked back and saw that we were getting heavily involved across the value chain. We started with financing the farmers, then we go into crop production, we go into trading. But the underlying factor was technology. So we then took a step back, and just this year, July this year, we started out that work on our 40th anniversary on November 14th. We then eventually announced that Farmcrowdy is no longer a crowdfunding platform, but is now a tech for agriculture company.
Interesting.
Now, being a tech for agriculture company, it now allows us to...
Excuse me.
Yeah.
I had a sneeze stuck in there.
Bless you.
Thank you. Yeah.
So as a tech for agriculture company, it now allows us to use technology across the entire value chain. So whether it's in finance, or it's in core farming, it's in trading, or it's in marketing, or it's in insurance, we're now able to use technology to create solutions, not just for us in Farmcrowdy or for the network of farmers that we have within our pool,
Yes.
but also in order, to help state governments, to help national governments.
Of course.
We're now seeing opportunities beyond the continent of Africa. And that is only because we took that decision to refocus our attention on being a technology business first, that then serves the value chain. Now, that value chain, like you said, is massive.
Huge, yes.
Quite huge. But what we've said to ourselves is we will pick 6 things in the value chain that we can use technology for. Technology for finance, technology for the aggregation, technology for trading, technology for insurance, technology for marketing, and technology for technology. Because there are people that just want the technology to drive their own operations, and that's all they want from a business.
So they
like
need
us.
they need the technology solutions to
Yes.
help them with their own tech aspect of their businesses.
Yes, and because of our experience, we're able to now build it custom made for them. So this is the position we've now taken in Farmcrowdy.
So who are the people who are utilizing the tech that you're creating for their tech?
State governments, other startups, other individuals, national governments, the farmers themselves.
The farmers themselves?
Yes, large-scale farmers, middle-scale farmers. The small-scale farmers may not necessarily appreciate the technology, but they understand the importance of that technology in doing the business they do.
Fantastic. Now, speaking of the farmers, tell me, when I think about a farmer, I don't think about somebody who necessarily went to university, who's particularly very learned. Now, that's not necessarily... that's not saying that there aren't any educated farmers, because I think farming is fast becoming something that very educated people can actually see value in. And many people like yourself are sort of doing farming now, maybe in a techie sort of approach, but you're sort of delving into it. Yeah. Now, the farmers, I imagine, I know one of your interviews said about, is it 38 million or 38 million small scale farmers, or is this including the larger scale farmers too?
I think it's all farmers, but maybe 95% of that would be small scale.
So in dealing with the small scale farmers themselves, how did you go about approaching them with this idea? And was there any resistance? And what did the resistance look and sound like?
Yeah, so the truth is, yes, you can say the farmers not educated in Western education, but they're educated financially. Farmers are businessmen and women. And so if you're able to sell to a farmer how he can make more money, how he can improve his practice on the farm, that will allow him increase his margin, that will allow him make more money, he's ready to do it. So what we did initially when we started engaging with the farmers was we were identifying what we call ambassador farmers within the communities that we wanted to work in. So maybe a community of 2,000 farmers, we get 20 of them. And then we show the rest of the farmers how we've converted 20 farmers from walking on the road to buying motorbikes, to buying their own cars, or to getting their own shelves, their own warehouses. So that process of showing the farmers how our practice is improving the yield they get from the farm exposes that farmer to 20 other farmers, and 20 other farmers want to join him in also getting the same value we're rendering to them. That was our first level of engaging with farmers. The second level was in the market access. So we started showing farmers how if you sell on your own as a farmer, this is how much you make. If you sell through us, this is how much you make. You don't even have to produce through us, but you can sell through us. So that started opening up the opportunity for farmers to look at how they can sell their farm produce through Farmcrowdy and get higher margins that they would have done if they were doing it on their own. So those two things started becoming our education to farmers and started dragging them and drawing them and attracting them into the Farmcrowdy network. And that's why we've been able to go from 2,000 farmers in our first year to 7,000 our second year to 25,000 our third year to 300,000 now.
That's a huge jump, isn't it, from year to year? So that means you're operating virtually on this trust, this sort of trust premise, and you're making examples of the farmers that you've worked with in order to attract even more of them. Are you attracting more farmers than you can handle?
No, because it's technology. We can scale as much as we want. We're aiming for the next 3 million farmers within the next 24 to 36 months. If we can get 3 million farmers within our pool, that would be exciting, because that's just 10% of the entire
Yes.
database of farmers in the country. So the value we're creating for them is exciting. These farmers now have digital footprints, and they're happy about that. Their thumbprints can show their full profile. So you can also make them bankable if you want. If you're going to get loans to them, you know who you're talking to. You know,
Yes.
this guy has an identity and has a farm. And so all of that is exciting everyone, and we're seeing a large pool of people that are also bringing their farmers. So cooperatives are bringing their farmers, associations are bringing their farmers, ministries are bringing their farmers to say, let these farmers be on your network, so that we can now channel the right funding to them. We can now channel the right inputs to them. So I'm quite excited about the future. We don't have a situation where we have too many farmers. They continue to do what they're doing. We continue to add value the way we're adding. And I think when we hit 3 million, we'll continue to push higher.
Very, 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 very impressive. Would you say there's a direct correlation between the work that you're doing with the farmers and the end quality of the produce that they're producing?
Yes, there's definitely a lot, because the better the quality, the more the margins they make. It becomes premium, and we pride ourselves. We've done over 3 million chickens, and one of the things that every time I'm talking to US based business partners, I say we've done 3 million organic chickens. They're shocked, because outside of Africa, organic food is premium.
Yes.
And when you say you've done 3 million, they really excited about that. But we don't know here. And these farmers are producing premium quality food.
Well, it's because it's our way of life here, isn't it? And it has been for many, many years. I don't think Nigeria's jumped onto the bandwagon of sort of,
the GMO,
infected food. I for one, I'm petrified of chickens. I rarely eat the stuff.
Yeah.
I'm very much transitioning into this sort of vegan lifestyle. Pescatarian for a while.
Okay.
Slowly going into vegan, but that's a conversation for another day. But when you're talking about producing so many chickens, and these things are pretty much, it's free range, isn't it?
Yes.
Organic
Yes.
and free range. What is the difference between organic and free range? Does anybody know? Anybody care to share? So, but Nigeria, I feel we've always been producing very good quality food and meat, particularly because they are very much free range. But I think what I'm pretty much asking or leading to is, how is your technology helping these farmers to position in order to benefit from what you probably call is quality produce and quality food in the market? Are they still operating? What is that?
They brought light.
So annoying. Are they operating still locally, or are we talking about export markets now?
Okay, so for us in Farmcrowdy, the average farmer is producing for local consumption. And in producing for local consumption, what we do is we identify the market we're going to sell our farm produce to. And so we identify also the quality of what the farmers should produce, and we communicate this to the farmers. Then we also help them with the farm protocol that allows them to meet the quality that will then allow us sell to the market that has shown interest in the commodity. So that process of getting the farmers to produce starts first with the market, where the market tells us what quality they want. And then we then use that to create the protocol to tell the farmers what they can do. Now, in telling the farmers what they can do, technology comes into play with the technical field specialist that is able to now communicate to the farmers through USSD code or mobile app to tell them what they need to do on a day-by-day basis or a month-by-month basis. The farmers will be able to ask questions from this technical field specialist to learn what they can do to improve the yield from what they are used to doing in the past. So that comes into play and comes into context to help them improve their yield. The second thing that happens is we also have a trading platform that allows the farmers see, if they can log in and see, they see what the buyers want, but also they can register what they've also produced to get their commodities sold. Now, depending on what they've done on their own part, if they follow that protocol, that's fine. When the buyer gets the commodity, he tests it and sees that this meets the requirement that he wants, then everybody's happy. But if it doesn't, he will get a fair price for what he has done, and the effort he's made. So that's how we've kind of used technology to help the farmers improve their yield, to grow their quality, and then also to guarantee the markets that they will sell to eventually.
Do I expect to see well-packaged produce in the local market anytime soon? I go to these sort of supermarkets, where the posh people basically buy the produce, and a lot of the time you're paying a huge premium for imported produce.
Yeah.
You want to buy strawberries that have been beautifully packaged. I could be in, I don't know, Waitrose or Sainsbury's in the UK and take that off the shelf. It's pretty much what they're producing here. When are we going to how far do you think we are in terms of local farmers and local produce to get to the point where we can actually package things in such a way that it's more enticing to want to buy for the end user?
I think we're already there. I'm seeing a lot of exciting things come out from the market. I see a lot of farmers now producing quality food that are well packaged to match what you will get from outside the country. So I think we're already there. I'm excited about that. In Farmcrowdy recently, I know we started packaging sausages and mincemeat from our Best Foods facility, and a couple of people that are now buying meat from us are seeing it come in the right kind of package. It starts from there. Eventually, we continue to improve on that and get more people to see that we can produce meat, produce food. So I'm very happy about seeing a lot of local content coming from Nigeria. People are now producing food that is exciting. Recently, we launched Farmcrowdy Marketing to help SMEs to sell their brands, to sell their plantain chips better, to sell their mango chips better, to sell juice better, so they get better packaging. We're able to advise them. We're able to get them to do their branding a lot more better for the sector. So I mean, all of that comes to play. I'm excited about what I see. People are now buying locally produced food items, and they're excited about what they're getting from them.
I'm very excited about it because I see the huge value in it. If somebody's going to go to a store and buy something that was imported just based on the way it was packaged and preserved, if we can just get that right, we'll be getting it a lot cheaper, which is fundamentally what everybody wants. But I think there's a huge value in the way this thing's presented to the consumer, because it's really what entices your eye. And it's very painful when you're paying 3 to 4 times what you would pay locally for something based on, and you're an intelligent human being, it's simply because of the way it looks, you're packaging, but the actual quality of the product itself is not that far. It might not even be better in most cases, and in most cases it's not. But a perfectly well farmed, I don't know, give me a fruit that you like, mango or something like that.
The one that excites me is the plantain chips. I see a lot of them in traffic in Lagos, and I say this can be done better and sold better, and then even maybe we can start exporting it, and people would buy it and they're excited about it. So I know I have a friend that currently does it with potato chips and exports this a lot to the Netherlands, and he's making a lot of money out of that just because he's able to position his brand in a very attractive way, do the packaging well, sell well, produce in a way that it meets ethical standards and international standards.
And it's well preserved.
Yes, exactly.
Let me tell you a story why I don't buy produce in the road. And it's the most practical thing. You're sat in traffic traveling around Lagos, and sometimes you get peckish. You just want to wind down the window. You see someone selling something, you're so hungry, and let me just wind down and buy this thing. And I have done in the past, and the biggest problem I always find is that a lot of it tastes like petrol. I can actually taste a chemical in the produce that they're selling on the road. And for me, I know for a fact that the organic product wouldn't have been like that. It would have been very good standard. But the issue is the preparation and the manufacturing process, and then more importantly, the packaging process. that's where, for me, it really goes wrong. And that's where we really need to look at, because we are leaving a lot of money on the table.
True.
By not doing these things properly.
Very true.
So I'm very, very excited to see when companies like yours comes along and you set the tone for the new standard. It's very exciting to see that these farmers are in fact encouraged to try and meet that standard, because it can only benefit everybody across board, can't it?
Yes. A perfect example within is when we started producing organic ginger in Kaduna. We started that out, and then we saw an opportunity to export this to the UAE, Dubai precisely. And when we did the first batch, it got a lot of excitement from them there that we could do this and export till, I think in the last couple of months now, we've exported over 6,000 organic ginger bags, 6,000 bags of organic ginger. And that shows you that these are farmers that would have produced this and would have had, because you don't have a big ginger market in Nigeria, would have had the means of making the kind of margins we've now helped them make, because we're able to meet international standards and export these things to other countries outside of the continent of Africa. So yes, there's tremendous opportunity in that sector.
So where we are right now with agriculture in Nigeria, I remember many years ago, my father, who grew up in Nigeria and then moved to the UK in the sort of early 60s, he used to talk about the Nigeria of the old days, how we were producing this and producing that. And I've done videos in the past where I've done the research myself, and the magnitude of what we were sort of producing in agriculture in those days was immense. We were one of the top manufacturers of consumable stuff.
Yes.
And how you kind of just seen that industry pretty much just die. And now it's trying incredibly hard to sort of resurrect itself and come back.
Yeah.
How many years do you think we still have to go in terms of when we can actually get to where we were, or maybe even better than where we were in those days?
Well, it's going to be a long journey to get to where we were. So in 1976, 1977, cocoa was major in Nigeria, and Nigeria was maybe one of the largest producers of cocoa. We made a lot of money on cocoa. Today, we can't stand. Ghana has done so much in that sector, and Cote d'Ivoire has done so much in that sector. Nigeria is lagging behind. You look at cassava, where we're still the largest producers of cassava in the world, but you look at Egypt, and the value that Egypt gets from cassava. Egypt is, I think, maybe the third or fourth, but the value they get from cassava it's almost 10 times what we get in Nigeria, yet we're the largest producers of cassava. So it shows you where there are a lot of gaps, that there are a lot of things that need to be fixed, and they will be fixed for a long time. Now, one of the issues we faced is a new administration comes into play or comes into power and then puts policies in place. And you look at the policy and they look really good. But the problem is every time they there's a shift from one administration to the next.
Yes.
The next one wants to show that I am really better than the last guy. And the first thing they do is they end the policies that were in place by the last administration and want to do something new. Now it makes us reset every 8 years. We're resetting. There's no continuity. Yes. Now, what you find in Ghana today has been policies that have been in place, especially like in the cocoa sector, with what they did with their trading board. They were able to structure out pricing in a way that made it attractive to the farmers, that they have guaranteed markets to sell what they've produced at a price that is pegged. And that way, the international buyers know what they are buying. The farmers know what they're selling.
Yes.
And it's consistent. Administration comes in and leaves. It's still consistent and it's growing. Now, so that level of consistency, we need, I mean, the average administration is maybe they stay 4 years and they do another 4 years, so 8 years. We'll need at least the next maybe 24 years
consistently
of consistent policies in place for us to get back to where we were in 1976. That would first be the starting point, that we have administration after administration, consistent policies in place over a period of 24 years. Then we would find ourselves in a place where we can then say, yes, we're heading towards the right direction when it comes to agriculture taking back its place. I mean, but even with all the things that have happened, agriculture still accounts for roughly about a quarter of the entire GDP that comes from Nigeria, even with everything going down the way it is. So it shows you, with such resilience and such dexterity in that sector, it shows you what potential can come out of it if we get everything right. Policies in place, policies that outlast administrations, young people excited about the sector, that don't look at agriculture just for the purpose of having a hoe and cutlass and getting into the farm, but seeing it from a place where whatever it is I've learned from school, whatever it is I've learned, I mean, it can be applicable. It can be applicable. I can be a pilot and then I'm using drones on farms. I can be a programmer and I'm building AI for farmers. I can be a mechanical engineer and I'm building technology, tractors and machinery. So if everyone sees it from that perspective, you find young talent, you find exciting talent coming into the sector and building solutions that makes it even more attractive.
Very interesting. Are there policies at the moment in the agriculture sector that you would say is probably doing more harm than good at the moment, that probably need a review, a drastic review?
I think rather than saying they're doing more harm, I rather than focusing on those ones, I would focus on the ones that will create more opportunities. The African trade policy, the one that allows us to trade across borders, AFTA, AFCTA. I think it's one that is encouraging to see that African countries and Nigeria, because Nigeria was standing out for a while, can now do cross-border trading. I think that will help the sector significantly, especially in Nigeria. That's one. Two is the policy around border closure for some commodities. I think that had a very good effect on the farmers. But the problem is, I would have preferred seeing that in place after we've empowered our farmers to feed ourselves. So we have enough capacity to feed ourselves first.
Absolutely.
Before we shut the door. Doing that first before empowering the farmers to get to that level, I think the timing wasn't so great. And so we're beginning to see the effect now in the country. The prices of food is now going up. So, you won't blame everything on the borders being shut. I think the pandemic had a major blow on everyone, but that has had a major effect on the sector. So you find feeds for birds skyrocketing. The cost of rumors that the cost of a bird may get up to 10,000 naira by Christmas. I don't know if that will happen.
Well, I'm informed that Lagos is very short on food at the moment because of a direct impact of this, and that's not going to be great for anybody, especially for this season that we've just embarked on.
Yeah, yes. I know the Commissioner of Agriculture in Lagos. She's been doing a very great job in trying to make sure that first the effect of the pandemic is contained, and then she's now anticipating what will happen if there was an pandemic next year or an pandemic in the next 2 years. So she's trying to put plans in place to get structures. She's trying to partner with the private sector to get them involved. One of these I heard her say was that really got me excited was, she's tired of the talk. She wants to see people that walk and do the things.
About the action now, isn't it?
So I mean, to hear a commissioner for once say that, I was like, okay, let's do this with this lady. I think there are plans that are coming for Lagos, for instance. They're putting plans in place to get things to work in the agriculture sector. I'm quite happy about some of the plans I've seen.
It's really weird that a pandemic can actually bring about opportunity for I wouldn't necessarily say innovation, but it brings about an opportunity for us to really look inwards.
Yep.
It's forced our hand almost, hasn't it?
Yeah.
And I think it's gone beyond just policies now, because now it's like even the policies are like, well, we can't do anything because our hands are also tied. Yeah. So now people are really looking within themselves for solutions. What are the more creative solutions and
Mm.
innovation that you've seen come about since the pandemic situation in your sector?
Oh, in my sector.
Yeah,
Okay, so-
particularly.
okay,
We
so I
can
was
talk
gonna
about
just
other
say-
sectors if you want as well, but I'll be interested to know within agriculture.
Okay, so let me talk about other sectors first, then I'll come into agriculture. In other sectors, I think I what happened in the health sector was phenomenal. I saw a lot of brilliant startups come up in that space. A lot of them got a lot of funding, a lot of them got a lot of attention because they were really the importance of the health tech sector came into play, and
Yes.
it was a major one. The educational sector as well. I saw a lot of innovation in the health sector. Speaking to that, 54 Gene, Life Bank, these were businesses that Helium Health, they're businesses that did a lot of exciting things in the tech sector, health tech sector in Nigeria, and I found it really exciting. In the educational sector, my former boss, Sim Shagaya with ULesson, I saw the traction they got from that platform. It was almost as if he knew there was going to be a pandemic, and then he started ULesson, and it just skyrocketed, and it was a brilliant innovation that I saw come out of sector. So kids were still able to get some education and get some schooling even while they were at home. Generally, I saw a lot more people come up with content education, content marketing. A lot of people that started up a lot of that. I even started up my own entrepreneurship coaching academy online.
Fantastic.
And started creating content for people. I just did that because I had time to do. I tried to stay away from the noise of the fear because it was really drowning at some point.
Yes.
I didn't let people think. And then once started thinking, the next thing we realized was, see, we have a lot of time in our hands while doing the things we're doing, but we could do our own bits from our homes. So people started paying attention to that. I think another thing that I saw happen, and this is now speaking, I'm going to direct this towards the agriculture sector because of something that happened with Farmcrowdy, was that people knew that technology became so important because it was the only thing that allowed you to have conversations and had interactions and have business happen without you having one-on-one contact with people. So e-commerce thrived during the pandemic period. Speaking to the agriculture sector in Farmcrowdy, we had a situation where we weren't able to get food items. I mean, we had the license to move food items across Lagos. So we had the approval from the state government and national government to move food items. But our staff were struggling to get food items from the markets because they couldn't move.
Yes.
So we then within a weekend, we got food items to their homes. And in doing that, we noticed that there was thousands of other people that struggled with the same problem. In 1 week, we created a mobile app. We called it Farmcrowdy Foods, which we eventually launched as a full business on the 14th of November. And that mobile app allowed people to order for their rice, their beans, their plantain, and would deliver to their doorsteps.
Wow.
Within 90 days, we had over 3,000 orders already on the app that we had fulfilled.
Wow.
And it just showed how much, that pivot had to happen for us to see how we could accommodate that. And now it's a growing business for us. So,
I think that was a trailer or something.
Okay.
What was that?
Okay.
Yes, please continue.
So that in itself showed the how innovation came into play. In the sector, I had a friend that used to use drones to report traffic updates on the roads. He then found the use those drones to rather spray fertilizer on the farms.
I think I came across that. I think I saw something like that.
Yeah, Big Drone. He's doing very well. He's doing very well now, and I'm quite excited about all the other innovations I've seen in the sector. So it's quite impressive. I'm very happy about it. I am hopeful that for us in Farmcrowdy, we continue to identify these opportunities and then make them into value for people.
So in all of this chaos, let's put COVID aside for a moment. In business and in your journey so far, because Susu is all about the journey as an entrepreneur, right? What has been the worst day in business for you? Minus COVID-19, of course.
I think the worst day in business was when we just launched Farmcrowdy, and 3 months into it, one of my co-founders, so we're 6 of us that started the business, and one of my co-founders, who was maybe he was the one we're depending on for everything operational on the farm, decided to leave.
Wow. 3 months in?
3 months in.
Wow.
And we had issues. We tried to resolve them, but he just said he was going to leave. And then there was I with the other co-founders, one in finance, one in tech, the other in marketing, and myself, and then the lady. The lady was doubling in for him, and we said we have to be farmers now.
So basically, you're now going to jump into his role.
We had to, all of us had to jump into his role. Like I couldn't imagine letting the ship sink in its third mode because he left. So it was a major that day. I think that was one of the worst days for us. We sat down and we looked and said we had to get into the farms ourselves. I hadn't done beyond raising 200 birds when I was 12. I hadn't done co-farming. I was depending on him to do that. So we even had meetings with our investor at that time. Somebody had invested in the business for us to scale. They said, "Are you sure you guys didn't just set this thing up to just take my investment and then bounce?"
The fear sets in.
And then he said something that encouraged us. He said, "If you guys can make this thing work, I will push you guys. I will sell your business. I will be your trumpet like no other. But if it fails,
I'll be your worst enemy."
Be your worst enemy. And it was that motivation. I just took it as like, yeah, so at least somebody will back us if we push this thing.
Yes.
So we got in. It took us about 6 months to recover. But eventually we did. And then we got more investors in and it started growing. But I think that was one of the biggest blows for me in business, doing this. I've had many other crazy days, but I mean, that was when I couldn't sleep at night. I didn't know. I was asking myself, what did I get into? If I was in the e-commerce space, if I was doing something in travel, if I was doing something in media, marketing, in pure technology, I will walk my way around it. But what am I doing in the agriculture space? And now I'm left hanging. So I think that was maybe my worst day in business.
That's really interesting. Yeah. Very interesting. I can imagine the fear. But let me just ask you this as well. In terms of what happened a few years ago with the herdsman, because I would have thought that's what you would have said to me.
Oh, okay.
That was pretty scary. But kind of just taking that sort of experience for you guys and looking at agriculture as a whole, you're not farming in Lagos. You're going to the most remote places in some instances, right? And you're traveling to places that are off the beaten track, really.
Yeah.
And for somebody who was very much from the tech space, now having to transition because this guy leaves 3 months in.
Yeah.
Did the fear set in a little bit as to where am I going? And I'm literally going to walk into this thing, and security wise, all of those aspects, I would have thought would have been something that you probably would have internalized very early on once he left. So going to the herdsman experience, how did you
manage that?
Yes.
That was so I mean, I picked a day, but that experience with the herdsman was maybe another crazy experience. We found ourselves in a place where our farmers had done the work they needed to do on the farm, and now they couldn't get to the farms because of the insecurity. And those that then braved it and got to the farms were killed. Some of them
were these your own staff members, direct
not
staff members,
but
okay,
farmers that
you
were within
working
our
with.
network. Yeah. Those that stayed in their homes, some of them had issues, and so they came in and they beat them up and all. What he just did for us. So first was we made sure from a financial perspective, we helped the farmers to get back to their feet. Those that had their loved ones lost, we couldn't do anything about that. But the things we could do from our own end to make sure that they had some form of shock absorber, some form of insurance, we put that in place. Two was we immediately had to start including security as a major risk factor to consider before deciding where to invest in. So all the high risk areas in the country, we stopped our work there.
What are the high risk areas?
Areas around the northeastern part, part of the country, where you had a lot of insurgency and security concerns, because we had our staff there when this incident happened in one of those states in the country, and the farmers were, in order to protect him, were teaching him how to shoot a rifle to protect
Wow.
himself. I'm like, dude, we didn't employ you to do this. You just get on the next bus and get out of that.
Yes.
Get out of that place. So we had to start putting in a lot of attention to our risk analysis. Started including analyzing the risk. Conflict areas just became the no for us to
Yes.
invest in.
Mm-hmm.
So we started focusing more. That moved us a bit more away from grains, because most of the grains grow around there.
Yes.
I started looking more at livestock and tubers and started coming more south. So
Yes.
it was bad, but I mean, we've not gone back to those areas until we find them really safe enough for us to invest in those areas. I don't think we'll be taking that risk again. But I mean, now we're no longer investing in those core farms. We're able to provide value for the farmers from wherever we are.
You are, yes.
So if they're able to get into our network, if they have things they want to sell, even out of those communities, if they're able to log on and then transport those commodities out to us, fine, we can still do business with them. But when it comes to investing in core production in those areas, we've stopped that.
Well, this is one of the areas that I would probably say the government really needs to look at, is the security.
Yeah.
Because it's very disarming for businesses, because there's a lot of opportunity in doing grains.
True.
A huge amount
True.
of opportunity that's now, again, money left on the table and opportunities lost because security is just not doing what it needs to do, at least not trying.
Yeah.
Now, I know that, I think it would be very naive of us to assume that we can secure every aspect of the country, because that's not the case anywhere in the world.
Yes.
But I think we still have a long way to go in terms of security within Nigeria, just to do very basic things like being able to farm in peace.
It's quite scary. I mean, I recently read a report of what happened in Kebbi, and that was very disheartening. Farmers on their farms being killed. I think it's something that we need to talk more about it.
Yes.
And let the government pay more attention to it. I know they say they're doing their best. They need to do more. The borders of this country needs to be to be safe. Everyone within this country needs to be safe. We need to be able to go out and do things the way we want to as law-abiding citizens, and know that we are safe to do that, irrespective of where you are in the country. So I think we need to talk more about it. For me as a businessman, I wouldn't want to put my investment in any area that I feel like I may do a very great job in the business I need to do, but something just happens and there's some security concern about recouping my return on investment in that area. I wouldn't do that. So, we don't want to find ourselves in a situation as a country where we get to that people keep on avoiding those areas and focusing on some other areas and making those areas underdeveloped over a long period, and making people even move out of those areas to just
they come into the cities, don't they? This is why you have the influx into the cities, because they're not being provided for where they are. Their needs are not being met there. And in talking about the government and what they can do, it's not even so much directly putting a security guard in certain places. It's just making provisions for those locals so that they're not having to resort to desperate means to try and bridge the gaps in their own personal lives. I think that's really where they're lagging behind.
You're right with that. That's the basic thing we require, and I look forward to a country where this will be in place.
Yes,
I look forward to a country where I'll be able to get on a plane and fly to some state in the northeast, and I'm not scared about being harassed on the way.
Of course,
I'm looking forward to that time when we get to. But I mean, for now,
we are, and you're one of the solutions to that. Funny enough, because you're creating jobs in those environments. You're creating a solution to a lot of the problems by just being there.
Yeah.
But if you're not able to be there, those solutions are removed.
Yeah.
It's a wide cycle, isn't it?
Very true.
Very, very wide. So just moving on real quick, I just want to ask, in terms of what inspires you as an individual, where do you derive your motivation from? Because I know entrepreneurship is not easy. It's tough. It's absolutely one of the toughest things you can probably do in terms of a career choice, to be quite honest, because you're exposing yourself to a heap of things. But where do you derive that continuous motivation and inspiration to just keep going? Is it mentors? What are you doing? What's Onyeka doing? We want to know.
Okay, I think motivation for me comes from I get to read a lot of books. I read a lot of books about entrepreneurs that have succeeded, I read a lot of books about entrepreneurs that have failed as well, and I learn from what makes them tick. And then I think the excitement of building technology, building companies, building solutions that creates value for people on a daily basis, I think that drives me on. Um, the other thing is doing it at a massive scale is something I'm quite excited about. I don't want to do it for just 1,000 people. I want to do it for 20,000, for 100,000, for 1,000,000 people, for 10 million people. So until I get to that point where my solutions are creating value for 10 million, 20 million people, then I would say yes. I mean, that's driving me on a daily basis. But when I get to that point with each of my businesses, then maybe I'll look at another opportunity to start from ground zero again. On a daily basis also, I feel like we all here on this planet to make it better, right? And I don't feel, when I find someone sitting idle and not doing much about the time they have in their hand, I don't think they realize how much so many other people are depending on them to do something. And so that sense of responsibility for me wakes me up every morning. I know people are waiting for me to create something. I know people are waiting for me to build a solution. I know people are waiting for me to drive that solution forward. And on a daily basis, I think that motivates me, gets me off the bed, makes me hungry, makes me drive on, makes me push on. The third thing is pretty much I just enjoy the journey of entrepreneurship. I think I'm now addicted to the whole life of taking risk. And
are you a workaholic? Would you categorize yourself as
so
that?
people say that, but I don't see it that way because I'm having fun, So I'm having fun working.
Yeah.
But people say that, and I don't really see it. So the other day, someone was telling me it is only when I'm sick you won't see me working. When I'm down, I'm ill, and when I'm even ill, I want to be back up. I try to make sure the drugs I'm taking don't weigh me too much. So I'm back up in 24 hours and I'm moving. But I'm having fun while working. So I don't see myself as a workaholic. I play a lot of games, football, table tennis.
Okay, so you're quite active then.
Oh, yes, I'm very active. I mean, that allows me to push
Distress?
Yes, exactly. And I'm a bit competitive. So I'm driving to be the best in anything I'm doing, whether it's I'm playing a game or I'm talking or I'm whatever. I just want to be the best.
Yes.
So I think those things drive me on a daily basis.
But you're taking good care of yourself.
Oh yes, I try.
It's very important.
I try because it's important. I don't want my journey cut short early, because I'm trying to build value, and then I'm not taking care of I'm not sleeping. I must sleep. There are days I don't sleep 8 hours, but ideally I like to sleep 7 to 8 hours
that's
every day.
That's not bad. Wow, that's amazing.
I try to do that. If I don't get 7 to 8 hours at least 3 times in a week,
yes,
it starts showing by Thursday, Friday. So I try to make sure if I'm able to do 7 to 8 hours, I would do all the things I need to do the next day, and then push on.
Interesting. So tell me, in terms of leadership, what makes you and Farmcrowdy great leaders? Let's start with Farmcrowdy. What makes Farmcrowdy a great leader in its sector?
The team. I think it's the team. The team that we have in place and the vision that the team is running on. On a daily basis, I look at the team and each one of them could have as well be building their own startup. But everybody has come together and they are bringing in their own skill set to build what Farmcrowdy is today. So I think it's the reason why I'm here today. I'm able to take interviews. I'm able to talk. I'm able to travel. It's because I have a very solid team, and I'm grateful to God for that. I think it's one of the things that has made us what we are today. It's one of the things that made us go through tough times and still remain where we are. 2 is the vision we have in front of us. We consistently put this in front of everybody. So we see the goals we want to achieve. On a daily basis, we're monitoring our KPIs. On a weekly basis, we're monitoring our KPIs to see how far are we from it or how close are we to it. And every time we achieve our goals, we celebrate them. And then very quickly, we set new ones that we want to achieve. So it's a quite ambitious team that has a clear vision that it's aiming for. And I think that has helped us as a business. The last thing is the support we get from the stakeholders that are helping Farmcrowdy to become what it is, whether it's our investors or partners. We've seen a lot of goodwill we've gotten from them, and it's allowing us to thrive on. I'm quite excited about that, and grateful to God for that as well. I think those three things are the things that continue to make us stay at the top and continue to drive on.
And what about you? What about Onyeka as an individual? Makes you a great leader?
I think my core values as an individual have been spawned into the companies that I also run. I like to stay hungry. I like to learn new things. I hear a new word, I want to search what it means. I want to know when to use the new word.
Yes.
I hear a new thing, I want to look at it and research it. Google is my best tool. Two is so I stay hungry. I also like to have fun while at it. So it keeps me going. I also make an extra effort to stay humble. I know when people say they stay humble, it's the cliche and it's saying it makes them look like they're actually arrogant. But I do my best to do that because I want to be able to address a general manager of a company, same way I address the gate man, and treat them with respect as human beings. Not because one has class over the other. I feel everybody has value that it can give to this life, and everybody's contributing to everyone's success at the end of the day. So I'm quite careful about how I treat people, with being emotionally intelligent, about being humble and being able to down to earth to listen and learn, and then how I treat people. Then I'm a sucker for being one of integrity. If I give my word, I try to, even if I have to bend to make sure I keep to it, I do my best. I try to protect my name, to make sure that I do what I can to make sure that people see, if you're talking to Onyeka and he says he will do X, he will do X because it's Onyeka. Then speed, I'm quite competitive. So as a leader, I'm always looking for, apart from wanting to be the best and being excellent at being the best, I'm looking for new goals to set. As soon as I achieve a goal, I celebrate them that day, and the next day I forget them, and I want to do the next thing. So those things help. Then last thing is, in all of this, I never, and I'm never shy of saying it anywhere I go, I don't take away where the God factor comes into play. And so that helps me to know that irrespective of everything I'm doing, I trust God in my decision making. Sometimes they may look foolish, but then eventually I understand that, yes, it's leading me somewhere. So I trust God in all my decision making and depend on Him in growing as an individual. So I think those are things that help me as a leader, while keeping views of mentors and people in front of me that I can take their qualities and see qualities I don't want to take as well.
Very important.
And then use that to build me as an individual.
Fantastic. Now, if we're going to look back on your journey in entrepreneurship, let's say 50 years from now, how would you want us to envision it? What would you want us to remember most about Onyeka's journey?
That 50 years from now, I want to make sure that...
I'm guessing you're still going to be alive, of course.
Oh, definitely. I want to.
Yes.
I think it will be the fact that I created value while having fun. I want to be able to look back and say, because at the end of the day, you build businesses. I've seen I've seen people build businesses with grudge. I've seen people become billionaires and kill themselves.
Wow.
I've seen people rise to the top and crumble. And then you look back and you're like, what was it all for? I want to be able to look back and say, I built solid relationships. I had fun while I was at it. And then I created true value, not paper value, true value for people. So those three things will be things I want to look back on, and I don't want to regret missing any. I created value for millions of people. I had fun while I was doing that, and at the end of the day, I mean, 50 years from now, if I do all of those things, I sit back and say, yes, you had impact and then you had fun while doing it. I think those things will be things I'll look back on and I'm excited about. If God keeps me to 50 years, I look back and I say, yeah.
Fantastic. Onyeka, thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.
That was wonderful. I've learned an incredible amount from you today, and I'm very, very grateful for your time. So question now is, when you guys embark on your own journeys, and I pray to God that you do find the strength and the passion and the will to do so, and you look back 50 years from now, I hope that you can also say that you have done it without any regrets, and you've basically conquered all of your heart's desires, and you've given it 110%. I wish you guys an immense amount of blessings on your journey, and I'll see you guys on the other side. Thank you so much for joining us in Susu podcast today. Take care, guys. Bye.